What's up guys, and welcome to the second edition of Nugi's Mailbox. The first question of the day comes in from Arav. What is the best way to generate endurance charges? I know they are strong, but I haven't found a way to incorporate them into my builds yet because I have trouble generating them. Basically the easiest way to do it is just using Endurance Cry. Every time you use Endurance Cry, you're going to generate 1 to more endurance charges depending on how many monsters are surrounding you. And this is the easiest and the best way, I would say, to keep them up, because you are in control, and with some maybe endurance charge duration, you only have to click it once every like 12-15 seconds. It's got its slow cast time lowered, so it pretty much triggers instantly. So yeah, no excuse for not just using Endurance Cry anymore. For some two-hand melee builds, you will see them using endurance charge on stun, which is a support gem. Not many builds can run that, but it's an option. So yeah, use Endurance Cry. Second question from Jimmy. Oh man. Pequex? Hey Nugi, what kind of builds can best utilize the Restless Defiance? As an extension to the previous question, the Restless Defiance, you gain an endurance charge on kill, you lose them when hit. So this means that if you're playing a character that gets hit all the time, this is not a chest for you. So this chest will mostly be used on dodge heavy characters. This also is emphasized by this chance to dodge attacks combined with acrobatics gives you a high dodge chance. Then you can corrupt some dodge and boot, you can get dodge here and there, you can use dark ray vectors for even more dodge, stuff like that. So you can get very high dodge chance coupled with a lot of high evasion, and it's very rare that you're actually going to get hit. So you generate a lot of charges, and then you have that mitigation for that one time you get hit, which is a good mechanic for this type of build. So I would say mostly you're going to see these be worn by attack-based, acrobatics based characters. This works really well for physical characters as well, because it has that leech that's very hard to come by. Gong writes, hey Nugi, what is your strategy when it comes to crafting maps? What maps to chisel, what level maps are worth chiseling or alching, what affixes to roll, etc. Thanks a lot. Well Gong, the way I roll them right now is any 76 plus I chisel and alch. It's pretty much alch and go if I can run it. Unless it's very badly rolled, I'll chaos it once or twice. I do the same like as I go up in map tiers. So 76 is pretty much alch and go. 77 I want a little bit better. 78 I want a pretty good map with like some pack size, a high quant. 79, since a 79 is worth around an exalt, you want to really invest into these because they can drop map levels of equal level or higher. It has a much higher chance to do that, so you want to roll them with high quantity, high pack size, magics and all that. And so doing this, they produce more maps, which in turn is currency. So by investing into it, you're getting currency in return. And because I look at maps as a type of currency. So yeah, early on in the league, you start alching at around 72, 73. I start chiseling at around 74. Right now, I don't chisel anything lower than 76. It's not wrong to chisel 74, 75s, but at this stage in the league, you can just buy maps. Next question, Dragon M. White. Nugi, you shall make a page where every week you post the ratio chaos to X every orb in the game. This will help us a lot and prevent newbies from making wrong trades. So as much as I would like to do this, there have been people doing this in the past, to varying success, because as the trades go by and as orbs are available, prices will fluctuate, and you can never have a certain price. Like Exalted Orbs from the start of the league starts low at like 10, 12 on day 1 or something, and they quickly rise to like 20, 25, and now they're up around 35 exalts. So you will always see this increase in exalt price. Alterations, fusings, and all these depend on what players are currently crafting. If you have a lot of people just crafting base items, alterations go up in price. If you don't have a lot of people picking up rares, alterations go up in price. If you have people using boss farming like Dominus before, chaos prices go down a lot, and chaos to exalt prices then get skewered, and exalt prices go up, chaos go down. But then again, at the same time, chaos versus alteration might hold its line like 1 to 16, where in other leagues it would be alterations being 1 to 12 and chaos being severely undervalued, exalts being severely overvalued, alteration staying at the same price. A lot of people trying to 6-link will increase value of few things and all these kind of things. So I would have to like do so much research all the time to like keep this up to date for you to never get scammed. Because at some point someone's gonna come and say, hey Nugi, I looked at your list and it wasn't up to date. I lost 10% of the currency traded, blah blah blah, you're at fault, you. So I'm not gonna do this, but there are places out there where they try to. Julian Deleste. Hey Nugi, what do you think of RMT and PoE? Have you bought something from these websites? I have never bought, and I will never buy anything from RMT websites. The only time I engaged in real money trading was in Diablo 3 within the auction house system, which was set up by the auction house within Diablo 3. So this was a valid way of trading. It is against the terms of service, and it is against what I see as the ethics within PoE in terms of trading ethics and how to ladder probably. Because if you ladder against people who buy currency from the outside and they play a lot, they have a lot of money, they just buy all the maps. You see, they get this influx of currency and it becomes pay to win. We don't want to have the game to become pay to win. So by buying outside currency, when you're competing against others who are not doing the same, you're at the same time forcing them to engage in RMT to stay competitive with you, and this is not something I want. This is something that goes against the rule set of the game. It's like in football, you can buy goals. Okay, let's say. So this guy over here, like you're starting off the game, the whistle blows, and they are in the lead 1-0, and the game has just started. And now you have to catch up. You can buy another goal, like, right? You can buy a goal from the RMT website, and now it's 1-1, and now you're in an equal playing field. But if you don't, you have to catch up, and this is unfair. So RMT, especially in the ladder sense, is a terrible thing, and you should really try to avoid all this. Mr. Tylide. Hey Nugi, what do you think about the changes to life and mana leech? With the new changes to life leech, the fact that face tanking has been greatly nerfed, it has become really difficult for melee life leech character to manage any boss because it's a single target. Do you have any solution to make this more manageable? I will say on the leech side with a life, I think it's a good thing what's happened. You have to invest a lot in life leech to make life leech viable on a single target. Like if you want life leech on single target to be the end all mitigation, because it becomes a mitigation in the sense that you regain back health very quickly. If you didn't regain health very quickly, like it increases your life pool over a span of time, increasing mitigation. So life leech is a form of mitigation. And this needs to be balanced with all the other sources of mitigation versus armor, versus curses, versus evasion, block. All these things have to be in line. So I think in terms of the life, like the life pool, the defensive side, it's fine. People just need to have to like think out of the box in terms of how do we now survive, and I think that's a good thing. There's so many options now. On the mana side, I think it's bad. Because if you can sustain your mana cost on a group, that's easy because there's a lot of sources to leech from. But on a single target, if you keep running out of mana, your entire resource pool diminishes. You have 0 resources left. You can't regain it back. And I think the investment for mana leech, if you're just going for mana leech, is inadequate. I really think that's inadequate. I don't like it when games take away ways of earning resources unless they're too strong, i.e. EB. But EB was mostly strong before because it had a defensive mechanic to layer on top. But resource management needs to be so that you can always, like, it needs to be applicable in most situations, I think, for your character to always function with the resources. There's nothing worse than having something that you cannot use, or like whenever you go single, this boss is so heavily reliant on boss fights now to increase in maps and do it Syrian, all these kind of things where you rely on single target mana leech. And if mana leech is so bad that it only works against multiple targets, you don't even want to invest in it for the single target. So you're basically removing the mana leech component out of the game, and I think that's very bad. I think they need to like maybe reassess mana leech. Yeah, I think they need to reassess that. I think life leech is good. I think it does very good things for life leech. I don't like what it does for the diversity of builds and for that specific type of mana management. Ilion 503, same as last time. Which Forsaken Master would benefit which type of builds most? Well, it's kind of self-explanatory. Vegan is the melee guy. He goes in, does the melee thing. Like, he gives you anything for melee weapons pretty much. So if you're a melee-based, weapon-based melee character, Vegan is the guy for you. Tora is the hunter, is the bow character, the prowess. She goes into quivers and bows and all that. So if you're a bow character, take her. Varici is an all-round good pick. He is to do with chroming, socketing, linking, that you can benefit from. Especially the chrome factor is good. He also sells at level 6. He sells 20 fuses for a good trade versus jewelers. It's 20 for 64 jewelers, which is a good trade. Haku, or not Haku, Elrion for jewelry can be used by all. So Varici and Elrion are probably the Varici, Elrion, and Sana are probably the 3 that everyone should have, and then you can kind of pick the last one depending on what character you are. But I would suggest Sana, Elrion, and Varici for anyone, just for the utility side of it. Haku is also great because it has to do with all your armor, all your gear. So this way you're pretty much covered on everything besides weapons, which is Tora, Vegan, and that witch girl. So yeah, Venice Drool. With the recent nerf to low life attack builds in 2.0, most support gems now are giving more multipliers instead of increased multipliers. Do you think Crown of Ice Helmet should be buffed to work with Pain Attunement and RF again? No, I don't. I think this was I think there's been so many overdue nerfs to low life and to multiplier stacking characters. So no, I don't think it should be buffed to work with that again. I think it's good we have, at least for the time being, we don't have these completely overtuned characters where you gain way too much multiplier, you gain way too much strength in character through like a few mechanics that very few builds can actually pull off. And because of that, you're at a disadvantage if you can't pull these mechanics off. Now they're like a valid choice between, like, you can use this, get a good advantage, get a good multiplier, but it's not out of control. So I like what they're doing right now, but like more like bringing things online and not have these outliers. I think that's good. As time goes by, we can see maybe some things need to be buffed well, but for now I think they're doing a great job at rebalancing multipliers. Gadumra. In the last episode of Nugi's Mailbox, I could see on your right hand the red fleck. Is that from gaming too much? I've always had a habit at placing my whenever I game, I kind of like place my palm like this on the table, and so it rests on that spot. It's just, I've been doing this for the last 20 years, and it's just a habit of mine. I don't know. So I try to like rest on my entire arm more, but it's I don't know, it's a habit. It's nothing that bothers me at all. BNX Bandit, hi Nugi, how do you go about crafting Elrond jewelry? Like, what is the most effective way to craft them? Well, there are not many ways you can do it. You can either augment regal, or you can just regal. If you're only looking for one stat, or if you're looking to mastercraft a lot, like let's say, okay, so with the augment regal, you have to hit twice. You have to hit something good twice. What you can hit twice is better than what you can put on the Elrond jewelry from the master. So by regal auging, you can potentially make a better item than by just regaling and then mastercrafting the rest. Also, just augmenting into the regal, then you can do like one strong mastercraft and then double exalting, has the highest potential, but is the highest risk and highest cost of any way of crafting this. If you want just a really good piece, you can regal into multimod triple mod, or you can augment regal and then just see if you hit anything, put on one and then let it like sit for a while. You have a nice 4-prop Elrond piece. In the beginning I did augment regal into a 1 mastercraft because we didn't have multimodding. Now we have multimodding, so I started doing, because I had very specific needs with like 1 resist, and I just needed like to hit 1 suffix or something, right? I had very specific needs for what I had to put on my jewelry. So I started regaling and regaling and regaling. Let me show you here. So this right here, you can see is multimodded. So this, one of my viewers had this neck with the Elrond minus roll and the chaos rest. So I told him regal. He didn't have a regal, so I gave him a regal. We hit the spell damage. Normally I would just have regal it straight away, you see, to get with the -8, and we would have hit the chaos. I would have multimodded for the plus ES, and then I would have put %ES and the cold resist because I needed the cold resist. So a very specific ES % cold resist neck that I needed, and I just wanted something that I could wear, and I wanted to make sure I could get good stats on all pieces, because with the augment into the regal here, the chaos, like the spell damage we hit, it could have been physical damage instead, and that would have been useless to me. So the chaos was so nice that if we had just gotten that on its own, I would have multimodded. But this became even better, as you can see. So with the augment regal turned out to be better, but it was higher risk. Then I could have double exalted instead of multimodded, and I might remove the multimod still and put on the energy shield again, because I have 2 suffixes left. 2 suffixes could give me cast speed, another resist, it could give me double resist, it could give me a stat. Like it takes the multimod and turns it into a stat, but there's a high risk that I'm gonna hit 2 things I can't use for anything. So it's kind of what do you need and how much are you willing to invest. Next question from Namthan. Where are you from, and is there any meaning to Nugiyen the name? So Nugiyen the name is back from my Counter-Strike days, where all my teammates, when trying to pronounce my last name, tried to pronounce it Nguyen and Nugiyen, all these mispronunciations. And so I pretty much just called myself Nugiyen, because this was much easier for them to pronounce. And it just became that everyone started calling me Nugi, or Nugiyen, or whatever, and it just stuck with. So it was like a play on words with people mispronouncing my last name. I am from Denmark, but my father originates from Vietnam. Darmath, what is the best map progression strategy as to not waste currency? Early on, it's just transmute alterations up until like 72, 73. Then I start alking. 74, 75, I start chiseling alking. And then I go top down with the highest map I have. Above 74, I chisel alk. And I try to like go up in maps as fast as possible. So I spend my currency on the highest level maps I can. As time goes by and maps become available, if you haven't broken the like 74, 75 barrier, you can start buying maps a few weeks in. for much lower price than like spamming and chiseling maps. So I would suggest at this point in the league, buy 75, 76, 77s, and then chisel elk them. It's for some people it might be a little bit expensive, so you might just want to alteration spam or roll them. Like you can still do the transmute alt into a regal on like LA weakness plus another strong map. If you're LA weakness capped, it gives you very high quantity and a pack size roll guaranteed. So if you can run this is still a valid option. If you have a build that can't do too many mods, because the problem from a lot of players is that they have to reroll too much because their build is not specifically designed to do all map mods. For this league, I've specifically made a build that could pretty much do any map mod. Very few mods it can't do. And that way I have to spend very little currency to make a very good map that I can run. So yeah, there's like a lot of small strategies you can use, but at this point, like buying maps at the right level, or just and then going top down and chisel elking, using wall fragments, making sure you level up your sana to get that 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8% extra on the map. These are all important things. Scouting out for Tempest as well right now is actually a good idea. If you see you have a Tempest that will give you like 20% more quantity, because there are some Tempests out there that will do this, and you have like a lot of maps within that bracket. If you can run the Tempest, you get an additional 20 quantity, you run like a multiple of those and you get 20 extra and you make more maps and so on. The Elephant. What do you think about Blood Magic mod? Is it possible to run builds based on Blood Magic? So there's a keystone called Blood Magic, and behind it there's a lot of health nodes. If you're a purely health based build, I would say there are like a few builds that benefit a lot from this, where you don't have to use Hatred and Herald of Ash, which is a lot of physical builds. A little bit, I don't know if I think that's worth it, but spellcasters such as, I would consider Explosive Arrow a pseudo spellcaster, and Flame Totem. I think those two are the best choices for a BM build. Resources are hard to deal with as Flame Totem and Explosive Arrow, so this gives a very nice option there, and they don't have to run that many auras. So Explosive Arrow and Flame Totem are probably your best bet. Leonardo Samaritano. What parts of gear should I not pick up in maps? Sorry for my English. It depends on kind of how much currency you have and all that, and where it is in the league. At this point I would say pick up all the right base items. So like Titan Gauntlets, Titan Greaves, Sorcerer Gloves, Boots, Hubris, Volregalias, Glorious Plates, Astral Plates, Gloves, Belts, Rings, Amulets, 1x3s, 2x2 rares that you can sell to the vendor for alterations. You can pick up almost anything in terms of rares and just ID and sell them. Especially if you're kind of low on alterations and currency, that's not a bad idea, and there you often find something you can sell. Is there something you absolutely should not pick up in maps? Not really. It would take too long to specify everything you shouldn't pick up, because there's also like a lot of like lower base items, white lower base items you should never pick up pretty much because they have no value. But outside of that, like Transmute, sure, Blacksmith, sure, like you can pick all this up. It's okay. Like it depends, like what you're trying to do. What do you think about map drop changes and heavy gating of content with RNG? I mean, rare finds, which is more or less a matter of luck, are more crucial than ever. Getting +2 from boss versus getting trash map, or finding Sana more often, or finding Kato can push you with maps way more than pre-awakening. A lot of people have issues sustaining mid-tier maps like 74, 75s, even with chiseling and rolling good maps. Yes, this is true. Like it is much harder to get to the endgame maps. So the start of the question, what do you think about map drop changes and the gating of with RNG? I think it's fine. In the sense that I think it diversifies the amount of maps we do. I saw ETOP finally getting up to 82s at around 90. He did hit a 82 before, I think, but he didn't find a lot of them before like 98, 99. This is something that And other players probably have found them before that. I went up to a 981 map at like 93, and I haven't seen an 81 map since, and I'm almost 96 now. I've run several 80s and a lot of 79s and a butt ton of 78s and 77s. And I really get happy whenever I get that +1 map. And I'm really trying to do all these bosses because the bosses, it's like getting a really good item. Maps are like currency, and I think that's good. The only thing I actually have somewhat of a problem with, because I have been the benefactor of this as well, high item level items from high level maps. I think there should be other ways of getting craftable items outside of maps. I do think this needs to be a thing. Like Malachi could drop in-game maps, or like he could drop like an orb that would make a certain item, like that would augment an item with a higher item level. Let's say you get the orb of higher item level that can only be used on white items, right? So you use that on the right item, and he has a chance of dropping it. I think that's important. As I don't like it when you have like a monopoly on anything and you can corner the market completely and gain absurd amount of like currency through that. I've been doing it myself because it's just the best way of earning currency. And even when I did it, I felt bad about it. But everyone else is going to take advantage of it, and you should whenever it's in place. But I dislike the item level and the crafting sense there is there. I think selling maps and stuff is fine. But yeah, so back to the I think the map draw changes are good. It forces you to run really hard maps, and it makes mapping a better end-game content tool, because players will take risks, and there's it will give you a higher sense of achievement to get a high level map. So I like that. I've been stuck at 75 to like 90 something. I dropped down to like 74s a few times. I went up to a 78, 79, dropped all the way down to 74. I think that's fine. You just do it again. As long as you know that this is how it works and it's like a gamble. Maps are just as much as a gamble as gambling items, and I think that is fine. As long as we have other options like at Siri, we need more endgame bosses. We need more of this. We need more endgame bosses. We need more endgame content. We need other places we can go to do stuff. Maybe some hard mode Malachi or something that you could do, where you would increase what he does, or I don't know. There's so many things you can do to diversify endgame, as to not only get it behind the RNG map system, which I think it's fine as it is now, but we need more. We need more. And those were all the questions of today. I think I might have overdone some of the questions, but they were good questions. So feel free to leave more questions down below, and I will see if I can answer them by next week's episode of Nugi's Mailbox. That's it for today, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.